I'm not sure what happened. We're supposed to pop right up there. Happy Fun Friday, everyone. I love it when it starts out like that. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, your host of the Today Show, and we haven't done a Fun Friday in a little while because we haven't found anybody fun enough to have on Fun Friday. So I'm really happy to welcome my guest today, Shalaine Stebner. Hi, Shalaine. Good morning. Welcome to the
Good
show.
morning. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be the fun one.
Yes. Well, I don't do a show every Friday because I've reserved it. If it's going to be fun, then I'll do it. If it's
Oh,
not, I'm from the East Coast. Like we're fun people.
yes, you are. Yes, you are. I have a few East Coast friends, and you guys get a little out of hand sometimes.
We do. Just don't put us on a kitchen table.
Mm-mm. Not all together, anyways.
No, that is right. That is right. So are you a native Albertan girl? Because you're
Yes,
just
I
around the
am.
corner from me. Like we're so close, we'll have to do coffee.
Yeah, born and raised, just a little bit south of where you are. That's where I was born and raised.
Wow. Wow. So we know that you're a singer and maybe a songwriter. I don't know
Yeah.
much. So we're going to take the time during the show to learn all about you. So tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now. What's your life look like right now?
So, I have two kids and a husband, so it's chaos all the time.
How many
There's
kids?
two. They're
Okay.
7 and 9. I have
Oh,
a girl.
nice.
My girl is 7 and my boy is 9. And I'm actually a full-time hairdresser as well. I own my own salon in town here, and so I'm behind the chair 4 days a week. And then the other 3 days are reserved for music, whether it's writing or recording or playing. Summer was crazy for me, and thankfully it slowed down a little bit because sometimes it gets, we over commit ourselves every once in a while. But yeah, so I'm playing, writing, doing literally anything that I can to get myself out there and show my kids that it doesn't matter where you are at in life, because I guess technically I'm a later bloomer because I didn't enter the music scene till my mid 30s. Even though I was in the music scene my whole life in my heart, I didn't actually do anything professionally until my early to mid 30s. So yeah, so I think that it's very important for them to see that it doesn't matter how old you are. If it's something that's in your heart, you need to go for it and do it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you come from a musical family? Like, is your family musical?
My mom would rather die than be on stage or in the center of attention, so she is definitely not there. But my dad, there was always a band. He was in a band with his friends. So even when he was in high school, he was in a band, and so he plays drums. And so when I was young, they would practice in our basement because we had the biggest basement that fit everybody. And so they just played and played and played, and I kind of just like sat in the corner with like glazed googly eyes going like, man, I want to do that. And I know one year we went to an anniversary party that they were playing at, and one of the ladies that was singing, she said, do you want to come up and sing this song with us? And I was maybe like 7 or 8 at the time, and I
Oh,
said, yes, I do. And she's like, okay. She's like, here's the words. I'm like, I don't need the words, right? Like I got this. So that was kind of when I got the first little like bug of actually being on stage and singing. And then it just kind of anytime there was a stage, it was like, how can I get on there and like entertain people? So I did dance for years. I did tap and I did musical theater. And then I did what else did I do? I did choral, I did band, literally anything, drama, anything that I could do to get on the stage. Karaoke when I was finally of age to be able to do that. We just, it was just literally anything that I could do to get on stage, and it didn't matter what the context was. It was just like I need to be up there, right? So it's kind of a little bit of an addiction, maybe.
well, that's okay. That's a good addiction.
Hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of times, when that you have that bug, it was there a long time ago, even though maybe you were, like you called yourself a late bloomer. It's never too late.
Yeah.
But I understand what you were saying there. So, wow, like you're an entrepreneur, you're a songwriter, you're a mom.
Yeah.
How do you keep all those plates in the air? Do you want to share a few of your secrets on, how do you, because I find it fascinating when I speak to women who've not allowed their kids to stand in their way, their husband to stand in their way, um, of being successful or having it all. We can have it all, but we need to be organized. So,
Yeah.
do you have any tips out there for other moms who might want to have? They have maybe a little secret dream they want to
Hmm.
pursue, but they have
Absolutely.
not. But they've held back because, oh, over to you.
Yeah. So I think that my biggest thing that I will say is that I have probably the most supportive husband in the world. When so I started my salon in 2020, right in the middle of COVID, because why not, right? And he had been laid off, and so he was home, and I said, here's the deal, like I can't do this salon thing, and I can't do this music thing without your support, right? And he has been, huge. Like he makes supper every night, he does the laundry, he does dishes. Like I he is a way better housewife than I could ever be in my entire, like, in all of the world. So I think that, like, that if you don't have this support at home, it makes things a lot more difficult, right? But he's very understanding when you have to go play somewhere, and we play till midnight or whatever. Or even like working at the salon, I work late Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I don't get home till 7 o'clock or 6:30 or whatever, because that's what we have to do in order to pay the bills and whatnot. And so he is just the most supportive. He is my support system, and without him, I don't think that I would be able to do any of it. I mean, there's time management, there's all the things that I could tell you, like follow this exact schedule, and then you can be successful. But if you don't have support from your partner, whoever they may be, whether it's a spouse or a parent, or a friend, or whatever your partnership looks like, if you don't have the support from them, then there's always going to be animosity, and there's always going to be kind of dirty feelings towards each other. And then the other thing is communication. We are very good at communicating. We've been together for 17 years, so we've always communicated really well, from the very start. But if you don't communicate, then that's where we start to kind of fall off of the rails. And it's very easy to have expectations from towards one person, but if the other person doesn't know that that's what they're expecting, then then we get really angry feelings. So yeah, so we communicate well, and he supports me well, and I try my best to support him in his endeavors, because he's also an entrepreneur himself. So it just is it's yeah, it's just kind of a crazy mess of, like, love and support. And that, yeah, that's pretty much the only way that I can do all of the things that I try to do.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because I'm in the same boat. We started our business in 1992,
Amazing.
and it was supposed to be a little retirement project, right?
When are you gonna retire?
Well, when I'm dead,
Right.
that,
Yeah.
right? When I'm
Yeah.
dead, he is retired, but
Oh, there you go.
without him, this is a kind of guy like your man, like he would have waited, and he would have waited back in the day. Let's say if I was speaking at a conference or something like that, he'd wait in the parking lot for 5 hours for me to get
Oh,
out from
absolutely.
wherever I was doing. And he's published all my workbooks. And yes, it's just that kind of a partnership. And
Mhm.
I can appreciate that very much, because now he does the laundry, and he does, because I'm still busy and I want to be busy. So
Yeah.
I choose that. Right.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. And I've done a lot of work with couples, and probably the biggest challenge is communication.
Yeah.
They don't know how to talk to each other.
Yeah.
We could just do a whole show on that, Shalaine.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm here for it. We'll set the music aside. Let's have a
Yeah, no,
conversation
I
about
want to get to the
relationships.
music. I want to get to the music. Um, so yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And
Absolutely.
I tell people, if you want to be if you want to be an entrepreneur, we have 100 workshops. We teach people how to be professional entrepreneurs. So
Mhm.
you must have your family engaged,
Mhm.
and then they feel like they're part of it and they're not being
Yeah,
left out.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
right,
Yeah.
totally.
It's
So
so much of your life, you can't not. We spend more time in our business than we do at home. So you have
yeah,
to, yeah, you have to include
exactly,
everybody.
exactly. So now let's talk music. Let's talk
Mm.
music. What kind
Mhm.
of music do you love to write and sing?
So
Or are you like, what genre is your
yeah.
favorite?
So I'm a country bumpkin through and through. I grew up singing Patsy Cline
Oh
and
yeah.
Tammy Wynette and all that good stuff. And I grew up in the late '80s and early '90s. So that was when, and early 2000s. That's when country was. I think that was when it was at its prime for classic good old fashioned country. With George Strait and all that good stuff. So that generally is what I tend to lean towards. I take a lot of inspiration from like our good Canadian girls like Carolyn Dawn Johnson and Terry Clark. The strong the strong women figures in music. They trailblazed for us to be able to have a voice and have a say in any of this stuff. So that's kind of where I get my inspiration from. But I do like writing. I do like hearing about sad stories and then writing songs about them because I feel like when I sing I can express a lot of emotion the emotion that I intend for you to feel. So I quite enjoy, I'll say enjoy, but like if I were to sing a song and make you cry, like I want to hear about it, right? Like I love when people are like, oh my gosh, that reminded me of whatever. Like I have a song, it's called Silver and Gold, and I wrote that one about my grandpa. And every time I play it, somebody comes up and says like, that was exactly how my grandpa was, tobacco in the air and
Oh,
all these things. And it's just like I love hearing how people connect to the words that I write, because for me, I mean, I'm just writing about my own experiences or the experiences that I've heard of, but it's so special when somebody can say like, yeah, that was the same, right? I just love
mm-hmm,
it. Mhm.
mm-hmm. Right. Oh, look at this. Kathy said, I added Shalaine's song, Brenda, to Lori's Wednesday Today show. Lovely song. Oh my gosh.
Oh, thanks, Kathy.
Wow, that's
That's
awesome.
that is awesome. Thank you so much. I'll tell you a little bit about Brenda. It's actually quite
Yeah.
a funny song. So I have a girlfriend who is my life coach because, like, Lord knows we all need a little bit of perspective every once in a while. And her name is Brenda, and she was like, there's no real good songs about Brenda. There's all the other women in the world. You got Lola, who's a showgirl, or like there's and Jolene. There's all these women, but there's not really any good songs about Brenda. And Ashley McBride had just released Brenda Put Your Bra On, which is a great song if you're looking for another good song about Brenda. But anyways, so I was like, I've been toying with this idea, and I always love a good like woman powerful
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had this idea of like cigarettes and wine, and so the tagline is she left the cigarette in the ashtray and the wine spilled on the floor. And so he's a cheater, and she decides she's leaving him, and then she's like, wait a minute, I'm gonna leave him, but I'm gonna make sure that he knows exactly how I feel. So she goes and finds him at the bar that he's at with a tall blonde and gives it to him, and then sets the house on fire. It's great.
Kill Bill
Right, exactly, going
or
with the
Earl
bang, let's
or
go.
Earl. Yeah.
Yeah.
Earl. Right. Oh
The
my
man can
God.
stay alive. He can lament about for the rest of his life about all the stuff he did.
Wow. That sounds great.
Hmm.
Wonderful.
It's a good two-stepping song. So thank you for
Yes.
adding that, Kathy. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, so do I. Makes my show even better.
Yes.
All right. Oh, that's very cool. Yeah, I don't know what they do behind the scenes. I just do the interviews and
Hmm.
whatever, and then they get to play with it, and
Yeah.
do whatever they want. But that's great. And also, too, I think a lot of it we we tend to like the music that our parents listened to,
Hmm.
because when we were children, that's what they had on,
Yeah.
you know. And in 1959, when I was 10, my dad bought me a little record player. We called it at the time. It was a little,
Hmm.
it was really retro, like was like kind of looked like a little spaceship. And you lifted it up. And he had bought me a record, 45, and it was Marty Robbins, a white
Oh,
sports coat and a pink carnation.
yes.
And today, my favorite flowers are pink carnations, and there's a connection. So there's everything has a
Yes.
connection, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I
And
think that that's the best part about music is that, like, no matter how long it's been, you can hear something and it'll take you back to when you
oh,
were 5 years old or 10 years old or whatever, right? Like
yeah.
it's literally a time machine.
She's going to add another song to this show, she
Mhm.
says.
Ooh,
All right.
ooh, which one? Is it Dirt Road Rays? That one is the one that I just released on October 25th, and that one is about Highway 53, where I grew up on, which is not too far
Oh,
away from you.
right. I know exactly where it is. I know
Right?
exactly where it is. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks. Kathy.
Oh, at the end of the episode, she's going to add that. All right.
Ooh, perfect.
Very
Love
good.
it.
Very
Love
good.
it. Here for this.
All right. So, how is the, how, I have friends in the industry. So, how is it for you right now in terms of getting gigs? And do you get do you get gigs, or do you perform live, or what is it that you do? So let's
So
let's talk about that.
yeah, so I all summer I usually summers are stacked with either a one or two or three shows a weekend, which is a little bit crazy, um but so what I love, my favorite gigs to do are like backyard patio intimate shows, right? I've played bars, I've played lots of different places. I played there's a casino that I've played, and but my most favorite is when there's like a group of like 10 or 15 of us and we're just sitting down around a fire playing music, right? That is my favorite. But definitely I work my butt off to get the gigs that I do get. Nobody does that for me. I do it all myself because that's just why not? I have time for that. But yeah, I just a lot of times earlier on a few years ago it was definitely harder to find gigs because of the time that it was, during COVID and whatever. But now, live music is slowly kind of trickling back in, and I love it. I'm so here for it, and I hope that I hope that one day, my summer will be booked and I don't have to like reach out to anybody to say like, hey, you remember when we did that show last time? Like, you want to do it again, right? But definitely last year, last year was the first year that more people reached out to me than I reached out to them. So that's a great feeling. To have that have somebody say like, hey, I saw you here, do you want to play here, or along those lines, right? So but yeah, I patio parties are my favorite, the intimate little ones. It is definitely a different experience than playing at a bar, because when you play at a bar you just want to play the fast cover songs, and nobody really wants to like hear any stories, right? Whereas when you're in the intimate settings, then you can say like, "Hey, you guys want to hear like why I wrote this song, or what the inspiration was behind it?" And of course they do. They want to connect, and I love the little personal shows.
Well, that's really good to know, because the more you talk to people who know people, the more that can happen. Like, I just thought of three places that would probably bring you in here in Drayton.
Perfect.
And yeah, so you just, that's what it's all about, is getting
Mhm.
people to be your ambassador,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Find some
yeah.
friends and network, right?
That's right. Yeah. And I had a friend who passed away a couple of years ago. She never ever took a workshop from me, ever, the whole time I've known her. But she carried my brochures in the back of her car. And when she'd meet somebody that she felt could use something we had to offer, she'd hand them my brochure. And those are called ambassadors. You need a
Yeah.
ton of them. And
Yes.
when you
Yeah.
build those ambassadors, those are people who actually just care about you.
Yeah.
They want you to be successful.
Yeah.
and they hand out your card or your, poster or whatever, right? So,
I think I'm
so I,
lucky in this little town, because we do have, like, as much as, I mean, we only have a amount of maybe 7,500 people in this town, but when I play somewhere, like, everybody loves it, right? And they support me and the best that they can, and they
Mhm.
talk to everybody else, and I'll do something, do something, and then somebody will say, like, oh, my friend saw you here, and it was so great, like, just hearing the way that other people talk about you when you're not in the room is phenomenal to hear the good stuff. So
Yeah, well, that's like my friend in Lacombe, she said,
yeah.
I know about this girl. And I said, you do? And she said, yeah, she's great. So exactly. And that's how word gets out. Word
Yeah.
gets out, right?
Yeah.
Um, how far have you traveled to sing?
Just to like Calgary, Edmonton, that's and everywhere in between is kind of my areas of frequent flyers. In February, we get to go to Whistler for the
Oh,
Invictus Games, which I'm super excited. Are you coming out for that? I know the Disability Channel has quite a bit to do with that.
yes. No, I won't be going to that.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Well, that's all right. We'll miss you.
yeah, yeah. Unless they, phone me up and say, hey, we need a broadcaster,
I need a
So,
broadcaster. You should come.
yeah, somebody, I could carry your bags,
Yes, I need
right?
somebody to do that.
Right. Now, do you play an instrument
Yeah,
yourself?
I play guitar. I won't say that I play it like super super well. But that's what we have bandmates for, but I definitely play it well enough that I can play for myself. I didn't learn guitar until I was about 22. And that was I'm so hard-headed that you try to play it once and then you're like, ah, I can't do this, and you throw it to the side and forget about it. But when my grandpa had passed away when I was 9, and he was my dad's dad, and he was a very, very musically inclined. And they would just sit down by the fire and just play anything that came to mind. Him and his buddies would just play. And so I'm sad that I didn't get to form a really great relationship with him, because I think we would have bonded really well over music. Um, but so when after he passed away, nobody else in my family and even in my extended family really wanted this guitar that he had. And so I was like, I'll take it. And so it kind of sat in the corner for quite a few years. And then um, there was a time when it was absolutely acceptable to travel around and play at places singing to karaoke, and then that kind of fizzled out, and then people wanted live music or nothing, and I was like, well, I don't know how to play live music, so I guess nothing. And so I kind of stepped away from doing anything musically, just because I didn't have the means to do it. And then I was sitting in our basement the one day, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I really love singing and I really love being on stage, but if I can't sing to karaoke, I need to figure out how I can support myself. So I picked it up, and you go through the frustrations of learning a new instrument, and I took piano when I was younger, and I cannot read sheet music to save my life. Like, if it's not, if all the notes aren't written out on there and then written out on the piano, like, I'm out of the loop. So I can't tell you what the notes are in the chords that I play, but I can close my eyes and play the chords, right?
Right.
I'm not a lead guitarist where I like pick, 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 pick and do all the cool musical stuff. I'm a supporting artist.
Yes. There you go. There you go. Yeah, a friend of mine in Saskatoon went to a concert the other night, and it was Natalie McMaster.
Oh, yes.
And, she had 7 children,
Oh,
and they
my
were all
goodness.
on stage with her.
Oh, I love that.
I
Oh my God.
know. Isn't that amazing? How did she have time to have 7 kids? Maybe it's a blended family. I don't know.
Maybe,
But
who
holy
knows?
cow. She was up there playing that fiddle like there was no tomorrow, and the kids were all there playing. I mean, it was just
That is
amazing.
really cool. Well, my
Yeah.
kids, my son, he is my percussion man. He's 9, so I obviously don't get to take him to the bars. But last year during Christmas, I had played just like a Christmas a market. And so I'd asked him, like, do you want to come? Because my dad has a cajon, which is just this like box that you sit on and you tap it. And it's like, it's a really good drum if you don't have the space for drums. And so he came with me and he played for an hour and tapped the cajon, and it was so amazing, and it was such a special bonding moment for us. So if anybody ever is going to do something, I have a feeling that he will follow in his grandpa's footsteps and play the drums. And then my daughter likes to sing. So every once in a while, if I can bribe her, I can get her to sing Strawberry Wine with me. And it's so cute when she was 6 and 5 and she's singing, I still remember when 30 was old. And it's like, girl, you have no idea.
Yeah, well, I'd like to tap into a comment you made earlier on the show here, and that is that bringing out the emotions. And when
Mm,
people listen to you singing and they start crying, you've really touched their heart. And the other singer that was very good at that was Hank Williams Sr., of
oh,
course.
yeah,
He
yeah.
really couldn't sing that well. I didn't think he had such a great voice, but when he sang, he touched people's hearts, and the whole crowd would be crying their eyes out. And that's where his success came from, was the fact that he was a connector.
Yeah.
So he connected with people and their real life situations and sadness and breakups and
Yeah.
heartache and all that. And a
Yeah.
lot of people don't want to go there, but I think when you do go there, you really, really make the connection.
Yeah, there is definitely a time and a place
Hmm.
to go there. I don't think that I don't go there every show, because you
No.
do have to read the crowd, and oh, sorry, and you have to see where they're at and whether they're willing to go there with you too, right? Because it can for sure be the end of your show if you go there and nobody was really willing to go there.
Yes. Right.
So, but that's where the intimate settings, I think, it makes it easier and more acceptable to go there. But I do like writing, not necessarily controversial topics, but like things that people wouldn't um, necessarily want to hear or want to write about. So, in a couple of years ago, one of my friends, her husband was killed in a horrific crash, and so I wrote a song for her about it, and it's called When You Were Mine. So it goes basically like we were in the middle of our love story, but he had other plans. But oh God, what I wouldn't give to write another story or another chapter or two. Take me back to when you were mine. And
Oh,
so it just, it's sad, but it's also beautiful because it's like it's not saying like, oh, I'm crying every day and blah 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 blah, but it's like what, we had such an amazing time, and I'm so sad that we cannot continue these amazing times and these amazing stories. And I miss you and whatever, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have had your husband killed horrifically. It could also be um a time when people separate, right? So
yes.
it can be relative to that as well. And so I love that, I love that it's so universal in different situations. But when somebody feels that, and they talk about all of those feelings, that can be so healing and so
Hmm.
so very beneficial to us, to have that experience. And sometimes it can be a little bit hard, because it re-traumatizes us sometimes, or brings us back to the trauma that we've buried deep down inside. But I do also think that it is very important to feel all the feels when as they come. And then every time that you feel that feel, then you're more prepared to feel it, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And probably what happens, in your intimate settings, what you're really doing, and I'm sure you're aware of this, but if not, it doesn't matter. But the bottom line is when you have those intimate settings, you're building safety. And
Mhm.
so when people feel safe, then they're more likely to share or
Yes.
express their emotions. That's the business we're in.
Yeah.
So that's why we never do a workshop with more than 6 people in it, or 12 at the very
Yes.
most. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's exactly it. You want people to feel safe, and I'm also being very vulnerable myself, singing about these things. There's
Totally.
been very few times that I have been choked up when I'm singing. But the one a little while ago, last year, my auntie had passed away, and I wrote another song. It's called "I Sure Do Miss You," and it's not another like I'm so sad, cry, 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 but it's like, you know what, life has gone on, and everywhere, every time I turn, something reminds me of you, and I just want you to know that I sure do miss you. And so that when I sang that at her funeral, and that was probably one of the very few times that I got a little choked up, just because I'm feeling the feels and everybody else is feeling the feels, and it's kind of like an electric kind of situation. But it definitely, when you can do something that connects with so many people, and so universally connects with people, it's quite amazing.
Wow. Yes. That's amazing that you can take a situation and just sit down and write a song about it.
Hmm.
You just need one big superstar like Dolly Parton or somebody like that
I
to sing
do.
one of your songs, right?
Yes, yeah, that's what I'm doing. So Dolly, if you're listening, girl,
Yes.
call me.
Yes. Yeah. Hop on. Hop
Call me,
on,
girl.
Dolly.
Call me, Dolly.
Yes, absolutely. Or male. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Cool. That's great.
absolutely.
Well, Willie Nelson started out as a songwriter. He never sang,
Yes, yeah, he
right?
sure did. Yeah, and
He
he's
never.
he's an amazing songwriter. Oh my gosh.
I know. And he just got other people to sing his stuff, and then he started singing himself.
Yeah.
Many years ago, I was in, speaking of Willie, I had a client in Yachats, Oregon. So I went down there to visit him, and I was visiting he and his wife in their home, and he was more senior than I was at the time. And on his wall was this beautiful print. And I said, "Oh my gosh, that is gorgeous." He said, "Thank you. It was a gift from Willie Nelson."
Oh.
I said, "Willie Nelson, one of my favorites." Yeah, he said, "I helped Willie back in the day when the Oklahoma drought occurred and many people were losing their farms and people were killing themselves,
Yeah.
because of the financial devastation and everything. And
Yeah.
Willie Nelson put 25 grand on the table to help with this hotline, which my friend managed. He was a pastor in a big, big church. And
Mhm.
so I said, "You're kidding." He said, "No." And he said, "That's why when Willie got in trouble with the IRS, the farmers came forward
Mm.
and supported him because
Yeah.
way back in the day, he started that helpline
Yeah.
to support those Oklahoma farmers."
Oh, that's
So
crazy.
I know, I know. And he's still performing. That could be you.
It could
I
be,
won't
yeah.
be I won't be here to see you at 90, but your
I gotta
kids
get a
may.
bandana.
There you go. There you go. And braid your hair. You know,
Yes.
you,
Yeah.
you could look like him, only prettier, of course.
Well, obviously.
Oh, that's very cool. All right. What else would you like to talk about? Do you get other people to sing your songs?
I have not yet. No. I'm a little bit of a control freak. Maybe a
No.
smidgen. Maybe I know it's crazy. Um, but I don't think and I mean, nobody has approached me and said like, I love this. Can I sing it? But I mean, if somebody did, that would be phenomenal. I also just last year I joined the International Singer Songwriters Association, and they're a fantastic group. It's all free to join. You don't have to pay any money or anything like that, which is so important, because I feel like sometimes when we pay a membership and then we don't get what we want out of it or what we need out of it, then we kind of feel a little bit poopy about it. But anyways, so I went down to Atlanta because they have an award show every year, and you nominate yourself for the things that you think that you're worthy of, and then all of our peers who have won gold the last 2 years get to go through everything and decide who they think wins. And so I went down there, and I mean, I was lucky enough to come home with an award. I won an award for Songwriter of the Year in the international category, which has over 25,000 members in it. So
Whoa.
that was phenomenal. But like,
Congratulations.
thank you. It was one of those things that it was so special because it didn't have anything to do with anybody else other than myself, right? It was about the songs that I wrote, and it was just absolutely phenomenal to get that. But the other thing that I didn't know that I needed was when we were down there every night. We were there Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. Every night we played around this little fire until 2 o'clock in the morning, 1, 2, 2:30, like. And so the connection that I gained and the friends that I got from those 3 nights, you don't realize how starved you are for that type of connection and that kind of support until you get like this little tiny morsel of it, and you're like, I want more, right? And I do think that the music industry, unfortunately, is quite it's quite cutthroat. And I do have friends in the music industry in Alberta, and some of them are wonderful, right? But I do also think that when somebody does something and you go like, wow, that was amazing, like, how did you get that gig? And they're like, I don't really want to tell you, because then I'm going to compete with them for the next round of gigs, right? And I'm 1,000% for camaraderie and not competition, and that's how I work with my salon too. I mean, there's probably 8 or 9 salons in this little town of 7,000 people, and everybody does well, and I can't do everybody's hair. So if somebody comes along and wants something, then I have no problem suggesting them to go to a different salon where I know that they will be supported and treated the way that they deserve. So I do think that finding um, that type of camaraderie, that everybody kind of has the same goal, but nobody is threatened by anybody. I think that is so huge, because I mean, it's such a huge industry. I cannot play at all of the gigs myself. There's no way, right? And so even if we, somebody plays somewhere, and then when they're leaving they go like, hey, you should really get such and such in, and that's the networking like we had talked about. But yeah, anyways, I didn't know that I needed all of those friends that I met down there, and it was just absolutely phenomenal to meet them and connect. And I mean, they're all over the world. I've got friends in the UK, I've got friends down in the States. You meet friends. I didn't realize how many people in the International Singer-Songwriters Association were from Alberta. Like, it's crazy. So I met a guy from Edmonton, and his name is Emo LeBlanc, and he invited me to go play with him on December 29th at the Edmonton Oil Kings game. So I get to play Rogers Place in December. And we
Nice.
just we just play one of the intermissions. But like, I would never have got that had I not sat down in that circle and sat at the same table as everybody, right? And the more people that come to the table, I think, like, pull up a chair, whereas some people are like, oh, there's only 8 seats here, right? And the more people that we get, then the bigger the circle, and the more friends you make. And I think that is the absolute most favorite thing that I have ever experienced. And when I had accepted my award, I said, like, this is great to get this, but just so everybody knows, the amount of networking and the amount of love that I have felt, and I knew nobody going down. Um, and it was just like, you just kind of like sat down, and everybody was like, hey, what's your name? And I'm Shalaine from Alberta. And it was just a huge love fest. So I definitely appreciate that. So finding your tribe and finding where you fit in is so huge. It's so huge, because then you feel like you have a little bit more support. My husband can only support me so much. He does not do music at all. He can't come do sound check with me, because he's like, I don't know, it sounds good to me. I'm like, how's the bass? How's, like, is this too loud? Is that too loud? He's like, I don't know. It sounds great. So.
Well, you found it's like it's like a family, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
um, and I'm in the same boat. When I got started in the industry that I'm in,
Hmm.
workshops, seminars, speaking, all that kind of stuff. Um, it was it is very competitive, and most of my competitors were male, and
Oh
they
yeah.
still are.
Yeah.
It still
Absolutely.
is. You'll
Yeah.
have way more men in the industry,
Yeah.
but it was those guys that helped me,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand that totally. But when you find people who are talking the same language,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And every industry has its own language.
Hmm.
So music has its language, computers, that's another language. Every
Yeah.
industry has its own. So that
Yeah.
was very powerful for you. And
Yeah.
we have a philosophy, show up, the power of showing up, and it's all in the asking. So what do you need?
Yeah.
And you ask for what you need.
It is hard to ask for what you need to. So a lot of people will
Oh,
struggle
sure.
with that, right? Because I don't want to be a burden to anybody, or I don't want to like take away from anybody else, or anything like that. But just knowing what you need is a huge step in itself.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's part of the work that we do is we teach people how to do that
Hmm.
because we're worthy of it.
Oh
And if
yeah.
somebody asked you for help, you'd step up,
Oh,
wouldn't you?
I would be
Yeah, of
more
course.
than willing to, share
Yeah.
everything that I know. And I don't know a lot. I'm, like I said, I'm so very early dabbling in the industry side of things. So yeah, so anytime anybody has ever asked me, I have one of my clients, he's a budding rap artist, and I know nothing about rap. But he had come to me one day and I was cutting his hair and we were talking, and he said, so I need to get trademarked and I need to do all this stuff. And I said, why? And he's like, well, because, I don't want anybody stealing my stuff and whatever. And I said, that's great. But I said, did you copyright it? Or did you do this or did you do that? Because I mean, you can trademark it, but before you do that, like these are the steps that you need to do first. And he was like, oh, I had no idea. But if somebody hadn't taught me how to do it, then I wouldn't be able to teach anybody else how to do it, right? And I love sharing and talking about anything
Yeah.
that I know. I feel like I always say, like, I'm an open book. So whatever you want to ask, like, let's go, right? No
Yep.
question is off the limits. I mean, maybe there are some questions that are off the limits, but for the most part, if it's a question of how to do something, like if I know how to do it, I'll share, right? Because
Yeah, absolutely.
why
Yeah,
not?
same here. Same here.
Yeah.
Kathy has a question.
Oh.
She says, has Shalaine ever she meant played halftime at a CFL game, like the Calgary Stampeders or any of those sports people?
I have not. And Kathy, if you have an in for any of that, please send them
Yes.
my way, right?
Yes, Kathy, you
I
seem
would
to be this
have
is a
your
Tiger
people.
Cats girl.
Yeah, right. Have your people talk to my people. We'll
Yeah,
talk.
exactly. Exactly. So, do you have a band? You play with a band or what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell us
So
about that.
my dad used to play drums for me. He's just turned 68, so and he's been he truck drives, so his shoulders are not really that great anymore. So last year he said, I don't he's like, I don't want to do this, but he's like, I'm also, getting old and my shoulders are hurting for longer periods of time. And so I would appreciate it if you find another drummer. And I was like, absolutely. And a couple of years ago I had played at a patio party at a little place over just down the road, and everybody just got like, it was a party. Like, we were there to party, they were there to party, everybody was there to party. And this one guy had stumbled up to me and he's like, I want to play drums with you. And I was like, okay. And then he's like, no, but like, actually, I want to play drums with you. So we got in contact a little bit, and he was like, yeah, he's from Texas, and he was just up visiting. They have a summer home up here, and he was like, he's like, I actually play. And I was like, cool. Maybe one day we'll be able to like match up, right? And then when Dad had said that he wanted to take a step back, and I was like, perfect. This is like the perfect opportunity for him to either show up or shut up. Like, there's only one way to do it. And so he was still down in Texas, and we had a gig at the same place that we had met. And so I said, like, here's the deal, like, if you're serious about this, like, this is when we're playing. And so I sent him the set list, and he kept on sending me videos, like he was listening to it here and there, and trying to make sure that he could like live up to my standards or whatever. And he got up to back to Alberta, and I think we had like 6 days before the gig, And he was like, I'm struggling with a few songs because I can't play them exactly how the recording is. And I said, I don't want you to play them exactly how the recording is. If we want to sound exactly like the recording, then go listen to the recording and don't come to party with me, right? And so we practiced a little bit, and then the show came. And so I have him, and then I have a guitarist who is phenomenal. He used to play for Gord Bamford. He is an absolutely phenomenal guitarist. And then I also have a bass player that I picked up along the way. Bass players are very hard to find. I don't know why, but they are definitely difficult to find. And so this guy was kind of like a one shot bass player, so we used them and we played at the patio party, and it was great. They did absolutely fantastic. If you go onto my YouTube page under so it's Shalaine Stebner Music, that if you go onto the YouTube page and then you go under videos, there's two videos where we played Wagon Wheel and then Every Little Thing by Carlene Carter, which is one of my personal favorites. And like they rocked it. They did so good. And it's just one of those things where you like it was one of those. I'm so glad that somebody videotaped it, because it was just it was magic. Like everybody was dancing, everybody was living their best life, and the drinks are flowing and everybody's having a good time. And then so then from then on, my drummer was like, oh, like I know I messed up a few times, and I'm like, I don't care. Like if you want to play, like you have the passion to play, like nothing has to be perfect, and if you mess up, cool, I mess up all the time, right? And so he stuck around all summer, and anytime we went and played a gig, he would come with me. And then my guitarist also would come. The bass player was also in another band, so he was a little bit more conflicted with times. So actually, this last 2 weeks ago, he messaged me and he said, my bass player, he said, the band that I was playing with, they're not playing anymore. And he's like, do you need a bass player? And I said, well, actually, I have a gig this weekend. Do you want to come play with us? So, so yeah, so we played at the Festival of Trees in our town, and again, just like rocked it. It was so good. So I'm hoping that the bass player can stick around for a little while longer. And then my drummer, who lives down in Texas, is they're planning on moving up here. Although when they flew up to play this gig, and he's never driven in the winter.
Oh,
So
ouch.
that was a fun experience for him that he never ever experienced. So we had a practice on the Thursday night, and he comes into the shop because we shop practice, and he's wearing this like giant Carhartt jacket with probably like 10 sweaters underneath, and like dressed like
Oh,
he's going out. And then he had one of those like red buffalo plaid toques, that have like the fur on it that flips
oh
up
yeah.
and then covers the ears, but he had it on backwards. And I was like,
Oh,
man, pick the Texas guy out of a line. Like
the
it was
the the
so
same hat
funny.
that John Candy used to wear those,
Yes, the exact
right?
hat. It was the exact hat. So anyways, he comes up, they come up every summer, and like I said, they're gonna be moving up here. So I will have a full band pretty much all of the time, which is fantastic. But like I said, I do also like playing the solo intimate gigs where the drums and whatnot are not necessarily needed. So
Right. Um, Give me, if people want to check out your YouTube channel, what's the search name? Stebner?
I think it's just Shalaine Stebner. If you just search Shalaine, I mean, probably if you search Shalaine,
Yeah.
the YouTube is like, what? Who is this? I think there's only two Shalaines on YouTube.
Okay.
So yeah, so
Oh,
just look up
okay.
Shalaine Stebner, and then my channel will pop up.
Okay. Because we're actually streaming live on my two YouTube channels right now
Ooh,
as we're talking.
fantastic!
And we're also streaming live on Laurie Davis Facebook for our viewers that are
Yes.
watching. And so people can go in after and share the show. And
Awesome.
that's the only thing I ask of my
Mhm,
viewers is
mhm.
to share the show.
Yeah.
And it can
Sharing
be
is
shared.
literally the cheapest thing that you can do to support somebody. And
Yeah, be
it's
our
one thing to
ambassadors.
come to the show or whatever, but literally it costs you nothing to click that share button, and it ups our algorithm, and I am thankful for it all.
Yeah, I am so grateful too for our followers and people
Mhm.
who and we're really going to work on upping our numbers this winter.
Yes.
So I just revamped the shows to reflect some changes and so on, and what we want to do with the shows and our purpose in the shows.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, it's all very important. So check out YouTube and YouTube, Laurie Davis, show host, and you'll be there too. And we're streaming live right there right now. So
Perfect.
yeah, absolutely. Well, we have about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Yeah, is that like not the fastest hour in the whole week?
Yeah, I
When we
don't
do
even
a
know where the
show,
time is gone.
I know, I know. So if you were, let's say if you were in front of 1,000 young people right now
Mm-hmm.
who were interested in the music business, what are some little tidbits that you would share with them to encourage them to follow their passion?
So I'm a little bit of American Idol lover, so I dabble in it every once in a while, but I don't watch it all the time because then I get FOMO really badly. And so this last season I watched when Abby Carter was on, and Gene Simmons was one of the guest judge or the guest guys that taught them, and and he said, everybody else in the entire world can sing better than me. He's like, I am not the world's best singer. But he said, when you step on stage, people are looking for your presence. You need to draw them in. So you don't have to be the best player. You don't have to be the most amazing singer because there's millions of people who play music and there's millions of people who sing. But just finding where you fit in the music industry and where in your heart you're being pulled to. Like I know sometimes it's not trendy to play classical music, but if that's what's in your heart, you'll find your tribe. So just really take a deep dive into what you want out of music, and whatever you want you will get out of it, as long as you put in the effort. So like I said, you don't have to be the best, you don't have to be the most amazing, you don't have to be the top of the class, but you just have to have the heart and the passion, and you have to find what will draw people to you, and then just go with that and keep at it.
I think I believe that's just the most awesome advice that you
Whew,
could give.
I
Yeah,
passed.
you did. You passed the test. Exactly. Yeah,
Passed Dr.
because
Laurie Davis test.
oh yes, you did. Because it's about, you mentioned this earlier. You used the word camaraderie, but I love the word collaborative.
Oh
So,
yes.
instead of being competitive, we can be collaborative. And
Yeah.
if I can help you and you can help me, then that's the way the world needs to be.
Yeah.
Right. So, yes, you don't have to be the best, the biggest, it's just quality,
Yeah.
and do your best that you're able to do at any given time.
If
Mhm.
you put the precedence on yourself that you need to be the next Taylor Swift, I'm not going to be the next Taylor Swift, and the chances of you being the next Taylor Swift are very, very minimal. She's above everybody else in the music industry right now. She's dominating. But if you are realistic in your goals too, and I think that goal setting is super important. So some of my goals are to be able to step back from the chair one more day so that I can do more music, and it's not because I don't like doing hair, because I love it. I like talking to people. I love all of that aspect of it. But if I can do one more day of music, that's profitable, then that's a great day. And to me, that's success. It's not success up to Taylor Swift standards, maybe, but up to my standards, that's exactly, that's where I'm at this moment in time. And I think it also, you have to be very realistic about your goals and your dreams, and they can change. Everything shifts, and like just like you said about how you're branding or redoing some of the things so that everything aligns with the goals. Maybe 10 years ago that wasn't your goal, but you can readjust and reevaluate every 6 months. You could reevaluate every week, and everything changes every once in a while because our situation changes, and we're never going to be the person that we were when we made the first goals like 6 years ago or 6 months ago or
No,
20,
no.
20, 30 years ago. But everything changes, so you have to be flexible, and you have to be knowledgeable enough to understand that everything is going to change, and never look at the comment section.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, don't read the tabloids. Don't read
Don't
anything that
read 'em.
says anything bad about you. Kathy says,
Don't.
well, maybe we could be the next Shania
Oh
Twain.
yeah, totally.
Yeah. Well,
I'll ride a horse everywhere. I'll be like Lainey
yeah.
Wilson. I'll ride
Well,
my own horse.
the thing that people don't realize, like when I watch, Hillary Duff, and I
Hmm.
watch Britney Spears, and I
Hmm.
watch, what they don't realize were the trailblazers like Cher, who set the stage for that
Yeah.
and went through a lot of hard times in
Oh,
her efforts to, and that's
yeah.
the same with Taylor Swift. There were a lot of women who
Yeah.
paved the way for her.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, it's not just about that individual, it's about the people behind the scenes and
Yeah.
the people who blaze those trails.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And we have to, we have to be thankful and grateful because it was not easy. And even
No,
now, I mean, it's 2024 and it's still not easy, right?
no, no.
Sustainability wise, if I didn't have my salon, we get paid very little to play
Yeah,
music for what we should be getting paid versus what we do get paid is quite different. But you
right.
do it because you love it. And I do think, I don't know how much time we have left, but I definitely had probably one of the best pieces of advice that I got was when you're looking at doing a show, you'd have three categories. So your heart, does it make sense in your heart? Does it make sense in your bank account? And does it make sense um, networking or like it to boost your fan base or whatever, right? And so each category gets 10 points, and whatever you give to each category, if it's higher than 15, then you do it. And maybe you're doing it because the heart is 10 and the money is 0, but as long as it's over 15, you have to reevaluate every situation and decide, like, is this worth my time because it's worth my time in my heart, or is it worth time because I'm getting paid well, or is it worth time because I'm going to be able to network really well? And as long as you have a good solid understanding of why you're doing that show, I do lots of shows for free, and I don't sit there and go like, man, I really wish I got paid for that, because it's like, man, that really filled my heart, right? And or it really worked well because now I got another gig out of it that's an actually paying gig. So I think that that's also very important to make sure that whatever you're doing, you're intentional and you understand your intention. It may be different than somebody else's intention, but as long as it makes sense in your heart, then
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I had all the money
mm.
for all the free workshops I've done in 40 years, I could be retired.
We'd be at a beach in Mexico,
That's right.
and we
That's
we would
right.
own the beach in Mexico.
That's right. That's right. But each time you do something, it makes you better at what you do. And so I
Absolutely.
always looked at that as an opportunity for me to get better at what
Yes.
I do.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. I've done lots of gigs where, like, if the full band comes, I say, like, we're treating this as practice because we're not getting paid. So, like, let's try some different songs. Let's try a new thing. Let's try this. But you can practice in the garage all you want, but once you're in front of people, that's when you figure out your footing, and
Hmm.
how you can do things. And because there's nothing like 1,000 people staring at you while you're playing a brand new song that you've never played for anybody before, and it could flop and it could do amazing, but you don't know until you try, right?
That's right.
And don't be
Well, we
afraid to
have to
fail.
go. We have
Ah,
to go.
great. Okay, I gotta go.
I always give a little 5-minute limit there, but it's been a
10
pleasure.
minutes later.
Yeah, that's okay. It's been a pleasure having you, Shalaine, and
Yes, thank you so
so
much.
nice to meet you, and wishing you all the best. And I want to be
Thank you.
sitting in an audience very soon.
Ah,
Okay.
we will hook up,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Thank you
Bye
so
for
much.
now, everyone. Have a great weekend. It's Thanksgiving weekend in the US of A. And so, my American friends, wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. And we'll be back on the air on Monday with a very special guest from California. And
Mhm.
Monday is Motivational Monday at 9 a.m. Every Monday, we're on there talking about self empowerment, self care, self worth, all the things we need to be successful. So, bye for now and have a great weekend. Mwah.